Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, the Honorable Mr. Yasser Yakesh, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to welcome you back this evening for the keynote address of the evening. It's really an honor and a pleasure for me to have the chance to introduce Mr. Hans-Josef Fell, who is a member of parliament in Germany for the Green Party. In addition to that, he is the spokesman on energy policy for the Alliance 90, the Greens, parliamentary group in the Bundestag. And he's actually held many positions in the parliament. I won't mention all of them because it's a very extensive list, but I will try to mention the most important, just so you get a sense for the great diversity and also depth of experience that Mr. Fell is bringing. Mr. Fell is also the spokesman of the parliamentary group on the Committee of the Environment, Nature, Conservation, and Nuclear Safety, rapporteur on technology assessment for the parliamentary group, substitute member of the Bundestag's Defense Committee, substitute member on the Committee on Education, Research, Technology Assessment, spokesman on energy and technology for the Alliance 90, the Greens, parliamentary group in the Bundestag from 2005 until 2009, spokesman on research and technology policy from 1998 until 2005, and deputy chairman of the German-Chinese Parliamentary Friendship Group. So really a man of a lot of experience in terms of not only integration, multiculturalism, having initially been born in the eastern part of Germany, if I remember correctly, or in the west. Southern part. Okay, we were talking about Bavaria this morning, that in many ways Bavaria is also like a different country to a certain degree. But I think in that sense, no, I think we're really happy to have you here as a member of the Green Party. As you may know, Germany is the first country in the world to have the Green Party in parliament, as far as I know. And also to be here really to discuss an issue that I think has tended to divide groups, countries, and nations, but could also serve as a possible bridge, in particular the issue of energy. The topic that he has chosen is Energiewende, a cultural and democratic revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a very, very warm welcome for Mr. Hans-Josef Fell.
Thank you for your nice introduction, for invitation. It is a great pleasure and a great honor for me to speak to you today. And I think it is very important to make cultural bridges over the nations in the world. It is very important that all the nations come together and learn from the different cultures and learn how to work together in a world for peace. That's very important. And I think Energiewende, you see a German word in an English language. I learned that this German word is since 1 year an English word. The discussion in the world. Energiewende means the transition from nuclear and fossil power and fuels to renewables, to a world completely saved by 100% renewables. This is a target now for all parties in the German parliament. This is astonishing because 10 years ago we had a very hard fight in Germany. What is the right strategy on energy policy? Perhaps you know the Green Party, together with the Social Democratic Party, in 2000 made a law to phase out nuclear power and to switch to renewables with a feed-in tariff law for renewables. But after 10 years, 2011, the conservatives and liberals who fighted against this strategy changed this. They cancelled the phase-out nuclear law and came back to longering the operation period of nuclear power. But this law stood only a half a year. Then came the accident of Fukushima, and this accident changed now the liberals and the conservatives too. And now we have a consensus in Germany to completely cancel nuclear power because of the security problems and other problems. And we see this change to a renewable world is not only a chance in energy transition. We have a lot of cultural issues. So we have to have first a view what is the old energy system, and then we can learn why the Energiewende is also a transition in cultural and democratic issues, and I think this is very important. today, now, the energy is mostly coming from fossil resources and only from a very few little part, about 2% of the world's complete energy demand comes from nuclear power. But the most, about 85% comes from fossil. Mineral oil, natural gas, and coal. These fossil energies change the world because they emit climate gases and leads to global warming. And we see now the disaster of the global warming. When we look to USA, to the Hurricane Sandy, made a damage of 100 billion US dollar. A lot of people don't know anymore how to live again. They lost their existence and others. Global warming make great, great disasters. And we must fear when global warming goes on, then the disasters will increase. Therefore, to stop global warming is one of the most important basic for culture in the humankind, because when you have no life existence, you cannot live on the cultural level. But the economy in the world, the energy economy, depends on the fossil fuels. These are the biggest companies in the world, the 10 biggest. And we see that the most of the companies earn money with fossil fuel or with fossil technology. ExxonMobil is the biggest company in the world. Apple is the second biggest. PetroChina, China, a mineral oil company, ICBC, a bank. And then comes Petrobras in Brazil, BHP, Billiton, all are mineral oil companies. The business with the old fossil and nuclear energies is the biggest business in the world. And when we want to come to a change, we must cancel this business, and this is not easy, because the business is increasing the more the problems are increasing. We all fear in our region the rising oil prices. Can we go on with a car in some years? Is the oil price not too expensive? We fear that we cannot pay our heating up our houses because of rising heating prices, natural gas or oil. A lot of people fear this. But the mineral oil companies, they are happy about rising oil prices because their profit is increasing with rising oil prices. You see it here. The blue line is the oil price in the world, and the black lines are two mineral oil companies, Shell and Exxon, and you see how the profit is rising with it. They have no interest to come to climate protection. And this profit leads to the situations that more and more money in the world comes from the energy consumers, from millions, billions of people all over the world, and this money flows more and more to only some companies. Some companies become richer and richer, and the rest of the world, the humankind, looks to more and more poverty. Therefore, the existing energy system is not a basic for a good culture, because poverty is increasing with it. And even the natural disaster is also a big problem. Look, now the crude oil, the easy producing oil from the big old oil fields in Saudi Arabia and Asia, is more and more declining in the production. And therefore they seek more unconventional oils, oil sands, deep sea oil and others. Look what with oil sands happens. destroying with big areas. This is a picture from Canada, where the biggest oil sands fields are. And this destroying of the area is also combined with land grabbing, takes the land from the people. We have it in a lot of regions in the world. Look to Nigeria. What Nigeria not only pollutes the environment, but also destroys the culture in Nigeria because the people becomes more and more poverty, and only some people and the companies, the mineral oil companies, earn the money with it. This destroys a lot of this, what we need in the society, a together living. And the scarcity of oil is increasing more and more. And so the humankind begins more and more to fight over the oil. Look to the military conflicts on the world. It is 2011. The most conflicts are exactly in the regions where the oil comes from. And we all know how wars destroys our culture and our together living. It's a problematic situation, and renewable energy can solve all these problems. We can come together. But have a look again to the poverty. This is a world map. The darker the area and the countries are, the richer the people are there. And look to the same world map where the most CO2 emissions are created, and you see it is nearly the same. The rich people organize poverty in the developing countries with using the oil, natural gas, coal, and uranium. They pollute the world. They make more and more disasters. How can we come out of this disaster? How can we overcome poverty? The most people believe renewable energies are too expensive, they cannot come to the developing countries. No, that's wrong. Renewables are already very cheap. Look to Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a country very, very poor. And we have a very fast increasing of solar power in Bangladesh. The most people believe they have no money to invest into solar power. Yes, they have it, and they have a chance. It is the only chance to come to electricity, because it is impossible to bring big coal power stations with big grids to the villages in Bangladesh. But solar home systems, you can bring easily to it. The Grameen Bank in Bangladesh organized microcredits for the poorest of the poor, and they could invest into solar power systems, and then they have light in the night. They have the possibilities to make handicraft, a little income, to overcome the poverty with renewable energies, even with the most expensive one. But when we go on with the conventional energies, you see the poorest cannot use anymore the oil. In more and more regions of the world, the diesel generators, electricity production are stopped because the people cannot pay the oil price. The oil price is rising and rising. It leads to more and more poverty. And it's not only the problematic situation in the developing countries, it is in the meantime also a problematic situation in the industry countries. Look to Europe. You see we have a big financial crisis, an economic crisis in Europe. And the most people do not see that it depends mostly on the energies. The EU 27 has a trade deficit. Instead of the fact that Germany is one of the most exporter in the world, one of the most successful, but the whole EU has a trade deficit. The trade deficit you can see on the blue line. And the deficit is very high and the oil price is high. We had a trade deficit last year in European Union of 120 billion US dollar. And we had an oil, natural gas and coal bill of 400 billion US dollar. This means Europe as a whole cannot create so much products to sell it to abroad that we can pay with it our energy bill. We are so dependent on the energy import, but this leads to public borrowing, and the public borrowing is a deeper reason behind the financial crisis and the euro crisis. It leads to big disasters in Southern Europe. You know this in Greece today. Look to the protests and others. We have to change the energy system. This is not the only idea and important issue to overcome this euro crisis, but it is one important pillar. Without this pillar, we have no chance to overcome this euro crisis. All the political challenges, what we fear in the world, what we see in the world, are combined mostly with energies. Climate warming, biodiversity loss, peak oil energy security, nuclear environmental disasters, oil wars, poverty, I spoke about, economic problems. When we switch to renewables, we can solve most of these problems. And we have a chance to make it very fast. Look to Germany, to the success strategy of the last years. In 2000, we had a share of renewable electricity of 6%. The Green and Social Democratic parliamentarians wrote the law in 2000 to increase the renewable energy. And we set a target that we would like to achieve, doubling the share of renewables till 2010, from 6 to 12%. We were told it is impossible, it is unrealistic, typical for a green politician, he has no sense for economy. But we reached 17% share, much more than was believed by the economic and by the energy people who advised the politics. And now we have the technologies. The technologies became cheaper and cheaper. Now the factories are here to produce photovoltaic modules, wind power stations, biogas stations, and others. Now we can accelerate the investment into renewables, and it happens already. From 17% share till 25% share, we increased the renewable electricity in Germany within 1.5 years. You can imagine what will happen when the same goes on. Then we have 2018, 50% share. And in 2030, 100% share. It is possible. But what will happen? The business with coal power, with nuclear power, with natural gas power is cancelled. So there's a hard fight against this positive strategy from the losers. Instead of the fact that the whole economy in Germany learned that we have a very positive impact. Our economy increased, and mostly the economy is shown by the employment. We had employment 1998 by 30,000 people in renewable energy sector, nearly as well as in nuclear sector. But it increased in renewable sector, today nearly 400,000. A lot of people can earn money with it, not only a few companies. And we can avoid a lot of cost, what our budget is on pressure. Yes, we have more cost for renewables, about 12 billion euro last year. over last year, 2010. Last year it was nearly the same. But we could avoid a lot of cost what the consumers have to pay on the other side, not in electricity price, but in tax money, or in buying conventional resources, energy resources. The avoiding cost were in the sum 20 billion euro. So renewables are not a pressure on the economy, but they help the economy to solve a lot of problems. But the people who don't like this challenge, they fight against it. We could see in the last weeks all over Germany these placards, this advertisement in newspapers and elsewhere. It was organized by a €1 million big company campaign against renewables. Cancel renewables, but it does not help because the people in Germany support renewables. All polls tell the politicians the people in Germany want renewables. Even they accept more prices for electricity sector to change to renewables. This is a new poll. More than 50% find it okay that we pay more for renewables. 25% find it not okay. They say we should pay more to introduce the renewables into the energy sector. Only a few are in the old thinking it would be too enough. Instead of the fact that the campaign against renewables highlighted in our political discussion, it would be too expensive. But the people see it is otherwise. They learned about it. Now we people have the chance to take part in this energy transition. And the people by themselves organized it. We have a lot of community power in Germany. People in the villages who came together to make a new who can help me? What is the word in English for Genossenschaft? Community. Thank you. New communities organized by the peoples. The people learned in the villages. Now we want organized a new democratic revolution. We want to earn the money, not only the big companies. And so these communities increased. We have now 600 in Germany within some years. And this development goes very, very fast on. And this is a cultural revolution. Because the people said, yes, we want to do it by ourselves. They told them, we can organize climate protection. We can organize energy security with energy from sun and wind power and biogas from the farmers. We can organize this transition. And we can take part on the income, on the profit. So it is very stable. And we have on local level a lot of decisions of the people to organize it. This is a map from Germany where all the regional counties, we call it Kreise, are here. And you see some are colored with green color. All these regional areas made a decision on political level to decide we want to change our villages and little towns to 100% renewables in some decades. It is a political decision on low level, on decentralized level. It is more what we decided in Berlin, in Bundestag. The people want more. Not everyone, but the most one. Renewables are a democratic and cultural revolution because the energy profits, they switch from rich monopolists to the civic. The undemocratic nuclear power, you see what happens in the areas with nuclear power will phase out. All people can produce renewables energy by themselves with a solar panel on their roofs, and not only to take it from a monopolist. And we can protect the human rights and culture of indigenous people who are under pressure because of the mining of fossil and nuclear resources. This pressure is very hard, so we can protect their culture and their life. So you see, it is a very, very great issue when we go to it. When you are interested to read more about this revolution, this transition in the world to 100% renewables and more, how to protect the climate, how can we come to cool down the earth instead of accept of global warming. I wrote a book in English. You are invited to read it. When you're interested, you are welcome. Thank you very much for your attention.
I just wanted to, first of all, express my gratitude to you, and also to underline why I think it was very important that you also gave your lecture here tonight. At the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, for us, cultural diplomacy is actually really just the first step. And I think if cultural diplomacy is successful, it will allow for really understanding and trust between peoples and countries. If we have that understanding and trust, then we can actually get to work together on these kinds of issues. For me, climate change is one of my biggest concerns every morning when I wake up in the day. I think sometimes scientists say it's too late. Others say it's not too late, but we have to act now, not tomorrow, not next year. And for me, that's one of the, let's say, motors of inspiration for cultural diplomacy. We can't wait any longer. We've got to actually have that trust and understanding now so that we can collaborate on exactly these kinds of issues. So I think you may not have known this when you came here, but I think just by you presenting this, I think we're already accomplishing a certain cultural bridge or a cultural diplomacy here. The fact that we can actually reflect and discuss on these issues together. So what I'd like to do now is invite your questions and your feedback for Mr. Fell on this issue. And I think in this discussion round, we can also accomplish another layer of cultural diplomacy and cultural bridges. So please don't be shy. Any questions or comments that you have for Mr. Fell or on this issue of also global climate change and beyond. I see already 2 hands here. As always, if you could stand and briefly introduce yourself. We have a second microphone. All right, we'll start in the back then. All right, okay, so then we'll come to the front afterwards. Please.
Hello, my name is Arthur and I'm intern here in ICD. I'm from Latvia. I have actually 3 questions. First one, you somehow make opposition between workers and their rights, like working places, and monopolies of oil companies and so on. But oil companies also are employees for thousands and hundreds of thousands of people all around the world. Don't you see their possible pressure and negative results for those people? And on the other hand, you're saying that renewable energy is good because it's not like monopoly, but what stops some company to become monopolist or oligopolist in this sphere afterwards? And then what's the difference actually? The second question.
First, okay. Let me answer to the first question.
Okay.
You are right. In a short presentation, I can paint a picture mostly black and white. The reality is more differentiated. Though some big companies goes to renewables already. Monopolists too. Yes, we have workers. They earn money in mineral oil companies and others. They will lose their jobs. But we have to look, we need more jobs for renewable energy production. So every worker in the old business can find a new employment in the new business. So therefore, it is not a problem by the whole, but for some people, perhaps. Yes.
Okay. The second question is regarding map of conflicts. What you wanted to show by this, do you really mean that conflicts there in oil-rich regions are because of oil?
Yes.
But, for example, Ingushetia, Caspian Sea is separatism, Mexico, drug wars, nothing to do with Mexican Gulf and so on. So once again, if there will be like a step back from oil, then it can, and for many countries, it's important part of GDP. Then it's decrease actually of GDP, poverty, and maybe conflict. Can it be so?
You are right. Not every conflict is combined with oil. Yeah. You are right. Not every conflict is combined with oil, but a lot of conflicts are combined with oil. That's what I want to show. And you can find these conflicts in Nigeria. It is a complete oil war in the region there, in Venezuela, in Colombia. Yes, in Mexico, it is a drug war. You are right. But the most conflicts in Sudan or elsewhere goes mostly over oil.
Thank you very much. And small last question. I should remember it by myself. Why you call it democratic revolution, showing polls of people wanting renewable energy, if this result of decades of political campaign for that, for example, of green parties in Europe, and why then this campaign against renewable energy cannot be called also democratic then, if it will change like people's opinion afterwards?
There was no campaign pro-renewables from political level. There was a cultural revolution from grassroots level since decades in Germany. That a Green Party could grow was a result that the 70s years, last century, the governmental parties in Germany did not interest for environmental aspects. No nuclear aspects, no oil aspects. We had already a lot of problematic situations in these years. And therefore, from the grassroots levels, they organized on political level. And the grassroots peoples wanted it. It was not a campaign pro-renewables from the head to the down. It was otherwise. But the campaigns from mineral oil companies and nuclear companies, this is organized from the people who have a lot of money to organize it. Therefore, it is completely otherwise.
Excellent, thank you. Let's take a few more questions, and just so you know, we have an interview we're going to do with Mr. Fell afterwards, so I want to make sure we have time for that as well. But let's take, I think you were waiting here first.
My name is Sean. I'm from the United States, Michigan specifically, and my question was just, your position in the German parliament allowed you to speak with good experience about the German political response to green energy. I'm kind of curious about the European Union's political response and what discussions have been had at the European Union level.
Today we discussed in the Environmental Committee a paper from the European Union that describes the latest development of renewable energies within European Union. And you will find a lot of the arguments what I argued within this paper. It helps to increase the economy, to bring more employment, to protect the climate, and much more issues what I told you. This is an official paper from the European Commission to spread it all over Europe and to bring more strategies. I have also discussion in USA, and I see a lot of people who want to advise it. So I have some friends in Congress, I hope they are re-elected, I don't know yet, who want to bring such renewable laws, what we have in Germany. They learned from the experience in Germany and want to create it too. But it's very hard, because of some of the politicians are very combined with the mineral oil companies, and this is not so easy in USA like it was in Germany.
Thank you. Is there an additional question or comment? I see two in the back. Maybe it's let Badr go first, and then we'll give it to Dana.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Badr. My name is Badr Abdeslam, and I'm from Morocco. I'm an MA student here at ICD. I have actually two very, very short questions. The first one is, I mean, it's true, like Germany has like crossed miles in terms of like a renewable energy, and but like imagine, that's just what I'm wondering, like if Germany did not, or like if Germany had like natural resources, would it have gone this far in terms of like whatever she is now, or like whatever it is now? And the other question is, how would Germany convince countries that have like natural resources like oil to go for renewable energy? And thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe the grassroots pressure pro-renewables comes also because of the fact that Germany is very poor, have nearly no resources. Only coal a little bit, but nearly nothing on mineral oil, and very few of natural gas. This could be one of the answers why it happened in Germany. This is not the only answer, because the most pressure comes because of the polluting of this energy. And they don't want the polluting with nuclear waste or with climate polluting and others. The second, I am too late today because I was on the Desertec conference in Berlin here. They are meeting a lot of people from North Africa with European people to organize the transition to produce in the North African deserts big solar power plants and wind power plants to produce cheap electricity to bring it to Europe. To help to Europe this transition of Energiewende to make it. And I believe this helps that backwards flows from Europe to North Africa money and know-how. And this is very important because when they have more money and know-how, they can organize for themselves to create a lot of solar power, wind power, and others to bring this electricity to the big cities of North Africa. And this is important because you need new electricity to develop your countries. And so we are very happy. The most pressure country to make this transition is Morocco. So the ministers are here and support this strategy.
Thank you, Mr. Fell, for your presentation. I think it's very important to talk about these issues because I've often advised and suggested to the ICD that they should have this theme very prominent. But I have a couple of problems because I think that if you're going to educate people about the ecology, about global warming, then it would be advisable to at least tell them basically what situation they're in at the moment. There are some scientists who say that whatever we do, whatever measures we undertake, it'll take 3,000 years to realize, you know, the difference or an impact. Now, certainly there are short-term and long-term measures that people can take, and some perhaps could be evident within a few years. You mentioned Fukushima almost as an afterthought. There are scientists who are saying that Fukushima is an ELA, and the extinction level event.
Fukushima is an?
ELA. It's an acronym. It means extinction level event.
Oh, what is it?
Extinction, Aussterben, Aussterben.
Yeah.
Ebene.
Event. Yeah.
Event.
Okay.
Okay.
Nuclear power is it?
No, that Fukushima, the accident at Fukushima is an ELA, an extinction level event. That means that the Earth, that all life forms on the Earth are in danger. Yes. In the immediate sense. Okay.
Because of radioactivity polluting.
No, of course. Yeah. Because of the accident, all the resulting whatever. Yeah. Okay. Now, okay. We have problems here. You talk about the petrochemical industry. Everywhere we look, if you look at everyone here, they all have handbags, shoes, whatever. People make these things. There are industries who are totally based on the petrochemical environment. All of those things together present a very unwieldy problem. It's not like we can wave a magic wand and everything's going to be all right. How are you going to, on the one hand, reduce the consumption here in Europe and America, because they use 85, 90% of the energy anyway, which leaves precious little for the rest of the world. How are we going to balance that all off in the short term, because people are dying as a result of that, and in the long term, whatever that may be, and even Mark said just a little while ago, time is running out, you know, so how much time do we have? Isn't it advisable to tell people what the exact situation is, what problems we're facing, you know, what is the situation, when is that plutonium cloud going to go, when is it going to circumvent the whole Earth, and what effect would that have on us? I mean, there are a lot of problems here that need to be addressed.
The first is, this transition is a race with time. We cannot be sure that we can win this race with climate polluting, with radioactivity and others. Therefore, you are sure. But I'm hopeful that we have a chance to win this race. Because the increasing of renewables can be so fast in the world that we could change the transition in the completely world, not only in the industry nations, completely in the world, to 100% renewables within 2 or 3 decades, when the people want to organize it. It is possible on a technology view, feasible on an industry level. And the race, my hopeful, is therefore, because renewables have an other cost curve than fossil. The more we use fossil and nuclear, the more expensive it becomes because of the scarcity and because of the polluting problems. But the more we use renewables, the cheaper they become, because they do not need any fuel except of biomass. But wind power, solar power have only technology cost and financing cost. And the technology cost goes down the more wind power we produce because of the mass production in the factories. So, and then happened the thing, and we are at the moment in the turning point in the world, that renewables becomes cheaper than fossil and nuclear. And then everyone wants renewables. Why should he pay more to pollute the world? He takes the cheap one to save the world. This is why I am hopeful that we have a chance.
Well, on that note of optimism, I'd like to ask everyone to please join me in expressing our sincere gratitude to Mr. Fell. Thank you very much.